The big phone battle is getting more and more interesting. We had the S10 Plus a few weeks ago, and now we've got the Huawei P30 Pro. How do these compare? Well, let's break down all the key differences SuperSaf style. Now, initially starting off with the build and design, both of these have a surprisingly similar build, and that is a metal frame with curved glass panels on the front and back. Now, this was a design that was originally introduced with earlier Samsung devices, and it's something that Huawei have been doing since the Mate 20 Pro. And in my opinion, it does look very, very slick, makes the devices a little bit easier to fit in the hand. Both devices are also IP68 water and dust resistant, and we've got plenty of color options. We've actually got a few more color options on the S10 Plus compared to the P30 Pro, and I don't think you're gonna have any problems finding the right color for you. Now, the S10 Plus does come in two ceramic options, ceramic black and ceramic white. These are gonna be a little bit more durable. These are options that you don't have on the P30 Pro. Now for the displays, we've got very large displays on both devices, and they're also very similar in terms of the size. The S10 Plus, however, has a punch out for the front-facing cameras. The P30 Pro has a notch. It's a dewdrop notch. It's quite small, but we do have this difference here. This is going to come down to your personal preference. What do you prefer, a dewdrop notch, or do you prefer the punch out? Let me know in the comments below. However, the S10 Plus does get a few solid advantages, and that's firstly because it does have a high resolution. We've got Quad HD Plus versus Full HD Plus on the P30 Pro, and it also supports HDR10 Plus, so it's a very, very good display. I'd say the S10 Plus is probably the best in the market right now. Now let's look at the internals. The P30 Pro comes with Huawei's Kirin 980 processor. The S10 Plus comes with either the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 or the Samsung Exynos 9820. Now, this is going to depend on your region, which version of these you get. I've been testing both of these out, and I'll be covering my experience in my full review, which will be coming soon. If you want to see that first, then make sure you have subscribed and hit that bell icon so you don't miss it. Performance-wise, both of these are going to be very, very good. I don't think you can have problems with either of these. One thing, however, you are going to have to bear in mind is the differences in software. Although both of these are running on Android Pie, you do have different skins. So you've got One UI on the S10 Plus. The P30 Pro has EMUI. Now, which one of these is better for you is going to come down to your personal preference. I'd advise trying them both out and seeing which one you like more. Now, when it comes to RAM, both devices have a base of 8 GB, but the S10 Plus is available in a 12 GB of RAM version as well. And storage both also starts at 128 GB. The P30 Pro maxes out at a 512 GB option, but with the S10 Plus, you can get up to 1 TB. Now, that's absolutely insane on a smartphone. Both devices also have expandable storage. However, you've got a nano SD card on the P30 Pro, whereas on the S10 Plus, you have a more traditional micro SD card slot. So that is going to be easier to buy, and it's going to be cheaper to buy it as well compared to the nano SD card. Now let's talk about the cameras. This is where things get really, really interesting. So the S10 Plus has a triple rear-facing camera setup, and it's been really, really good in my experience so far. You've got a primary wide-angle camera, 12 megapixels, and this has a variable aperture, so it's going to switch between f1.5 and f2.4 depending on the amount of light in your scene. There's an ultra-wide camera, which is 16 megapixels with an f2.2 aperture, and that also works really well. And then you've got a telephoto camera, which is going to give you 2x optical zoom. Now, the P30 Pro has a similar setup, but takes things a little further as well. So the primary camera is 40 megapixels, and Huawei call this a super spectrum camera, and that's because instead of your standard RGB, which you find on most smartphone sensors, this has red, yellow, and blue, and apparently this is going to let in a lot more light. In addition to that, you've got a 20 megapixel ultra-wide camera, which has an f2.2 aperture, but then the telephoto camera is very interesting because unlike the S10 Plus, which gives you 2x optical zoom, you do have up to 5x optical zoom on the P30 Pro, which is absolutely insane. It also has up to 10x hybrid zoom, and in my experience, it does seem to work really, really well. Now, it doesn't stop there because you've got 4 cameras in total. There's also a time of flight camera. This is gonna help with depth information. So lots of cameras here. Of course, we're gonna have to put these side by side SuperSaf style to see which one of these is better overall. Definitely let me know if you wanna see one of those, and I'll try to get onto that as soon as possible. Now, when it comes to the front-facing cameras, the P30 Pro has a 32 megapixel front-facing camera. The S10 Plus has 2 front-facing cameras. One of them is 10 megapixels and the other is 8 megapixels, but this is going to be used for depth information. Now, we are once again going to have to put these side by side to see what the differences are. the S10 Plus can record up to UHD 4K from the front-facing camera. This is something that not many of the smartphones can do, so this is one advantage that you got on the S10 Plus. Now, when it comes to the fingerprint scanners, both devices have an in-display fingerprint scanner. You've got an optical fingerprint scanner, however, on the P30 Pro, and you've got an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner on the S10 Plus. Now, in my experience, the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner has traditionally been better than optical fingerprint scanners. It's more accurate and more reliable, but I have had brief testing with the P30 Pro and it does seem to have been improved compared to the previous generation that we had on the Mate 20 Pro. Definitely let me know if you want me to do a comparison between the two fingerprint scanners to see which one is more faster and more reliable. For the audio, the S10 Plus does have firstly a 3.5mm jack as well as stereo speakers. These are things that we unfortunately don't have on the P30 Pro. No 3.5mm jack, and we've got a single bottom firing speaker. So how do you make calls? Well, instead of the earpiece, the screen actually makes tiny vibrations, which is going to give you more isolated sound compared to the standard earpiece on the S10 Plus, but that is at the expense of losing that stereo speaker experience when you're consuming media. Now for the batteries, we've got very large batteries on both devices. The P30 Pro does come with a slightly larger battery, and we've also got faster charging on the P30 Pro. Huawei's SuperCharge 40 watts, and that's going to give you up to 70% in just 30 minutes. This is not the case with the S10 Plus. It is going to take you longer, although you do get a fast charger out of the box. Both devices also support wireless charging, which is great, and they also support wireless reverse charging. This is where you can use the devices to charge other Qi-enabled devices. You could kind of like charge each other as well. Now, I'm not sure of the speed of the P30 Pro as yet. I did do a speed test for wireless reverse charging of the S10 Plus versus the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, and the S10 Plus was twice as fast. Now, I'm not sure if this has been increased on the P30 Pro, but I will definitely be doing some more tests on my full review. Finally, looking at the pricing, both devices actually start at the same price, around £900 for the base 128GB model. So they are very, very comparable. If you're looking for a new smartphone, which one of these will you be going for? Well, there's advantages and disadvantages on both sides. You are going to be getting overall, I'd say, a better display on the S10 Plus, but you are going to be getting more camera options on the P30 Pro. Which one of these would you go for? Definitely let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more detailed comparisons between the P30 Pro and other devices, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. Of course, we're going to be having lots more content coming up on here. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do hit that thumbs up button for me. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV. I'll see you next time.